All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something pretty out there. It's a theory from Tucker Carlson, and it's this. There's a supernatural war going on, and it is actively shaping our world.
So let's start with this really strange quote from Tucker Carlson. It's from a recent interview. And honestly, it sets the stage perfectly for what is a truly remarkable and for a lot of people a pretty unsettling theory about how the world actually works.
So, in this explainer, our goal is just to neutrally lay out his argument for you. We're going to explore the claims he makes, look at the evidence he points to, and unpack the, well, pretty extraordinary conclusions he comes to. And just to be clear, all of this is based directly on what he himself has said.
All right, so let's get right into it. The core of Carlson's claim is, well, it's a radical one. I mean, it goes directly against the modern, secular worldview that, let's be honest, most of us just take for granted every day.
So he puts forward this idea that the big things happening in the world, the political shifts, the economic trends, the tech revolutions, are not just what they seem. He's arguing they're actually expressions of a hidden, underlying spiritual battle. Think about that for a second. It's a framework that completely challenges how we normally analyze things, because it suggests the motivations we think are human might not be human at all.
And it's really crucial to get specific about what he means by these supernatural forces. We're not talking about, ghosts in a haunted house. According to his argument, these are active, intelligent forces. And get this, he claims they can physically manifest and are actively pushing humanity in a self-destructive direction. Now, he frames all of this as a personal journey for him. He says he used to be a total skeptic, didn't believe a word of this stuff. But then he talked to multiple high-level, credible sources, and he says he was just completely shocked by what they told him they had seen and experienced with their own eyes. Okay, so if these forces are real, where's the proof, right? What evidence does he actually point to? Well, that brings us right to his next section, the signs of what he calls anti-human forces at work in the world today. He basically builds his case around one big fundamental question. Why would we, as a species, do things that are so obviously against our own best interests? It's a simple question, but the answer he gives is not so simple. He points to a few huge modern trends that he labels anti-human. Things like the constant push toward nuclear war, the explosive development of AI, and even the promotion of transhumanism. The whole idea of merging people with machines. His argument is that if you step back and look at these things, none of them offer any logical, long-term benefit for humanity as a whole. And here's the kicker. He makes his comparison to the animal kingdom. He says, look, no other animal on Earth actively works against its own survival as a species, but humans, we do. So he concludes, if our behavior is unnatural, then the influence causing it must also be unnatural, or to use his word, supernatural. Okay, so Carlson's next move is take this theory, which sounds super modern, right? And ground it in something much, much older, history and religion. The argument he makes is that this idea isn't new at all. In fact, it's an ancient belief that you can find in almost every culture. The suggestion is that we're the weird ones. Our modern secular society is actually the historical exception for not believing in this stuff, which was once considered just common sense. And you can really see his point here. He argues that if you look across history, from the ancient Hebrews and Christians talking about spiritual beings in Genesis, to the Greek myths where gods are constantly taking physical form, to Hindu scriptures, all the way to animist and indigenous beliefs, this idea of a spirit world interacting directly with our physical world, it's everywhere. It's a constant theme. This leads to a really central part of his whole theory. If all of this is real and has been known for thousands of years, why don't we believe it today? Well, he argues our disbelief isn't an accident. He says it's been intentionally manufactured. He points directly at the government's official story on things like UFOs, for example. He says this isn't just a simple denial, nothing to see here. He frames it as a deliberate 80-year-long campaign of disinformation. And he claims this campaign has a very specific and hidden purpose. And this is maybe the most explosive claim in his entire argument. He suggests that the reason the government denies the supernatural isn't because they're ignorant of it, but because they're complicit with it. That they are knowingly working with the very forces they're telling the public don't exist. So this really lays out the two opposing views, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the official story. UFOs are just unexplained tech, the supernatural is all just folklore. But on the other hand, you have the motive Carlson is alleging, that the real goal is to make all of us spiritually defenseless, completely unaware of who or what is really in charge. So, if the official narrative is a lie, a cover-up, then who can actually see what's going on? Who, according to Carlson, is equipped to understand the truth? His conclusion is that our whole modern value system has it backwards. He argues that the very people our society tends to dismiss, the ones we call foolish or superstitious, are actually the only ones who are perceptive enough to see the real picture. And he gets very specific. He says that it's religious people, and in his words, Bible readers in particular, who have the right framework to understand what's happening. He doesn't just say they have a helpful point of view, he goes all the way, calling them the only wise people who actually know what's going on. So that's the argument. We've just walked through the key pieces of Tucker Carlson's supernatural thesis. It's a theory that starts with very modern anxieties, things like AI and nuclear war, but it ends up trying to reframe the entirety of human history. And it leaves us right back where we started, with a pretty provocative question about the forces that might be shaping our world in ways we can't see.